Hi everybody, I'm Tychocelchuuu, and today we're going to learn about Marine Commander strategies, tactics, and tips and trips for Natural Selection 2. So I'm going to assume that you already know sort of all the tech trees and what all the upgrades do and how to use the Marine Commander UI and all that stuff. If you don't know the basics, you can go watch my Marine Commander tutorial video, but I'm just going to assume you know how to play Natural Selection 2 and you know how to play the Marine Commander. So we're going to go through strategies, tactics, and tips and tricks. And we're going to start out with strategies. So strategy, the big overall, what should I be doing? How do I win the game? And as always, disclaimer, this is build like 235, kind of near the beginning of Natural Selection 2's lifespan. So as time goes on, and as strategies and tactics evolve, this will probably be less and less useful, so make sure nothing has become outdated by the time you're playing. And also, these are just my opinions. There's no like one correct strategy. These are just what I think are the best. I think I'm better than many commanders, but I'm certainly not the best in the entire world. So, strategy. I like to divide the game into sort of early, mid, and late game in my head just to have an idea of what's going on. So, early game, Marine strategy, you're going to want to spread out and capture extractors. Pretty simple. Send your Marines out in 2s or 3s to capture extractors, build the power nodes right by those while you drop extractors, and you're going to want to lock down a hive room pretty quick with a phase gate, or a tech point is I suppose what they're called. So you're going to want to lock down one of those. And also you're going to want to keep aliens from rushing your base and killing either your infantry portals or your power early in the game, because a quick skulk rush is usually a worry. So that's what you should be thinking about in the early game. Secure the extractors, secure at least a tech point, and keep the aliens out of your base and keep them from ending the game. Mid-game is when you want to win, I think, as the Marines. So what you're going to try and be doing mid-game is you're going to try and keep alien hives from being dropped, try and keep them from securing any hives. You're going to want to lock down the hive rooms that you've kept from being dropped. You're going to want to make those safe for your team. And you're going to want to assault hives that the aliens are able to drop and push down those hives with their various strategies and destroy them. And then this is when you want to win, before the aliens get some critical mass, before they get a lot of hives all over the map and take over. But let's say you don't win in the mid-game and you get to late game. This is where you sort of pull out the jetpack rush, the exo train, or the arc train, and when you start mixing in max to your strategy. But aside from that, everything should be pretty much the same. You just sort of step it up. So we're going to talk about these sort of strategies, the early, mid, and late game, and sort of understand how to make them work. So early game, you want to get as many extractors as possible, lock down a hive room, or lock down a tech point, and then keep the aliens out of your base. So integral to doing this, you obviously need to build an armory first. That's basically how the Marine tech tree works. So build an armory with one person in your base. Everyone else goes out to secure resources on the map. You want to find where the aliens are, find their hive, so that you know which direction you'll be defending from. And once you find their hive, you'll probably want to pick the tech point furthest from their hive and secure it. So how are you going to do that? Well, you're going to build an observatory in your base right after the armory. So you're going armory, observatory, and then straight away research phase gate tech from the observatory. And once that's done, you'll build a phase gate in your base and a phase gate in the tech point that you want to lock down. You should also have your extractor built in that tech point, because why not? More resources. So you'll lock down the place with a phase gate, which means your Marines can spawn and go through that phase gate instantly and get to that tech point. So that should make it pretty easy for you to lock it down, and that'll give you vastly more map control than if you were just stuck in your base. Especially if you have a larger team, like 9 to 10 to 11 people, or if your players are bad and they keep dying, you'll want to build a second infantry portal fairly soon, so that people don't have to spend forever waiting around. But I would not build your second infantry portal right off the bat when the game starts. If that many people are dying so quickly when the game starts, then it either doesn't matter, they'll just spawn out of the single infantry portal. It'll take a little while, but no big deal. Or you're screwed. The skulks are just going to kill everybody, and your team is just not good enough. So, that's what happens. It's a first-person shooter in addition to a real-time strategy game. So I would hold off on the second IP, probably until you get phase tech up. Maybe even longer, depending on how many people are dying. Around when you get phase gates up, I think now is a great time to research mines at the armory. This will give your Marines something to spend their personal resources on, and it'll really help you keep your phase gates safe and keep your base safe. When mines are researched, tell your team, okay guys, I just researched mines. You can buy mines at the armory. You can spend your money on mines, put those down at the phase gates, put them down at the tech, or at the power nodes at the tech point and at your base, and put them down on the infantry portal. And just keep reminding people pretty much all throughout the game to buy mines. It's a great thing to spend personal resources on, and nobody can screw the mines up as long as you tell them where to put them. So certainly tell your team to do that. Also around now, once you've got your phase gate set up in the tech room and you've expanded across the map, it might be a good job to research welders. I typically research welders once the aliens have started gnawing on things. They'll gnaw on the power nodes, they'll gnaw on the extractors, they'll gnaw like GNAW, like chewing, on the phase gates and stuff, and eventually those are just going to die if you don't buy welders. So research welders, tell your team to buy welders, and make sure they keep things welded up. And you should keep an eye in the early, going into the mid game, on the entire map, and be sure to redirect your teammates to extractors that are under fire, and obviously to the phase gates if the aliens try and attack those. So try and keep the phase gate up in the tech point you've secured, because you want to keep your team going to the hotspots, shutting down the aliens before they can kill your extractors and stuff. And this is why we get welders too, because when you send someone over to save an extractor, then they can just weld it right back up, and it's like the skulk was never there. So once you've got your tech point locked down, go ahead and build your arms lab, and then get armor 1 as your first upgrade. Weapons 1, not going to be a huge help against skulks, but armor 1 is going to make a pretty big difference in the, well, depends how good your players are, but it'll make a big enough difference in the fight that it's worth getting armor 1 first. Then after that you can get weapon 1, and weapons 2 I think is best after weapons 1. But around here is when you probably want to start mixing in shotguns. Depending on how good your players are, shotguns are really going to help them sort of really put the hurt on the skulks once you're getting into the early mid game. This will put some real damage on them. I would maybe after you get weapons 1 or before you get weapons 1, whatever, depending on how much research or resources you got. And around the time when you're getting shotguns, maybe before, maybe after, depending on how the map looks, I would build your second command console on the tech point that you've lock down with your phase gate, and also start spreading out, trying to lock down even more tech points or important points on the map with phase gates. So even getting up to 3, maybe even 4 phase gates, although that's kind of a lot for the mid game. But so drop your second command console. It only costs 15 resources to drop, so it's not a big deal to drop it on the tech point. Once you do that, you'll want to upgrade to an advanced armory, and then you'll be able to build a proto lab. And around when you're building the proto lab, maybe before, maybe a bit after, you should maybe be getting up to weapons 2, armor 2, weapons 3 even. Those cost a lot of resources though, so you might be want to save up for a proto lab. Depends how your resource income is looking. And then once your proto lab is up, I would get jetpacks first, and then you can also buy grenade launchers to go with the jetpacks. Grenade launchers research at the advanced armory. And then you can also get flamethrowers if the aliens are going like really heavy on buildings or something, or your players are bad and they can't aim. Flamethrowers not so fantastic though, so those are more of an optional mix-in. And once you've got your proto lab and your jetpacks, you are firmly in the mid game, maybe even getting to the early late game. And once you have jetpacks, you should be able to fly all around the map, and then you can send your marines in death teams to destroy any hives that are going up or any hives that have already been built. The grenade launcher will be a great help here. The shotgun will be a great help here, and people can keep each other welded up. And between jetpacks and phase gates, you should have enough mobility to hopefully keep the map more or less locked down. People will have welders, so you can send a guy just jet around the map, shoot down all the skulks that are biting your extractors, and weld those back up. And hopefully the combination of all this stuff should be enough for your team to push through and destroy the hives and win the game in this mid game. So keep an eye on your teammates and direct them so that they attack in a coordinated group with their jetpacks. And then if you do end up in the late game, you're going to want to go ahead and research exosuits and then dual minigun exosuits, and then you can start using exos to make the push if jetpacks are not enough. And then if exos aren't doing the job, or for whatever reason you don't want to go exos because you're a weirdo, you can buy a robo facility or a robo factory or whatever the heck it's called, and start churning out arcs. You'll have to upgrade it first. Also, once you get into the late game like this, it'll be nice to build a couple max out of your robo facility. That way you can send them around to repair things, so your team doesn't have to walk around with welders and stuff. And you can also send the max along with the arcs or along with the exos to keep them welded up. But exos and arcs, although they're not bad, hopefully you should be trying to win before they become necessary. So that's how I sort of see it. Armory first, observatory right after that, just immediately after you build your armory. Phase gate tech right after that. Lock down a tech point, spread out, lock down more tech points, and just lock down hives. Don't let the aliens get hives. When they get hives, run in and kill them. So that's the basic strategy, I think, for the Marines, and that's what you should be trying to do. But now let's talk about tactics that will help you execute these strategies, because you've got your build order and you've got like vaguely what you're going to be doing, but like how do you kill the hives? How do you lock down the points with phase gates? Blah 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 blah. So To lock down a point in the early game, it's just going to be a phase gate and the extractor in the tech point. You're not going to have the resources or anything to do anything more than that, but you'll have mines, so those should keep your phase gates fairly safe. Then as time starts to go on, sort of the mid game, you'll want to put an armory down in these points that you're locking down, just because that will give people a way to heal up during the fight without you having to drop meds on them, and then that'll just make you more secure in those points. You don't have to put an armory everywhere, but it's often pretty helpful to get them in your forward bases. Sometimes I see Marine commanders putting an armory in like every room they secure. Totally don't do that. That's a noob tactic. You don't need armories everywhere. That's just a security blanket for the Marines. You should be able to med spam them if they're getting into any crazy fights and they need health and stuff. So don't drop armories everywhere. That's just a waste of time and resources. And it makes the Marines too defensive. They're like, I'm going to run back to the armory in this room we just secured, when you really want Marines to be pushing out and grabbing these locations back from the aliens. You don't want them to be camping around armories. So only put armories where you want Marines to camp, which is going to be in the tech points that you've secured with the phase gates. So that's where I would put the forward armories if you're going to put them anywhere to lock down a point. Another good use of armories is to block a hallway or something. Obviously, aliens enjoy having unconstricted movement around the map, and if you can narrow down a hallway by putting an armory or block it, this will make skulks have to funnel through a more narrow corridor to get at your players, and it will slow down Onoses and Fades from running around. So if you can block a hallway off with an armory or even two armories, that's not a bad idea. Obviously, Gorge's bio-bombing this will make it tough, so your people will have to weld it, but whatever. Armory blocking is a nice little tactic to have. Sensor sweep is an ability that you have on your observatory, and that's a great tactic to use, or that's a great ability to use anytime your Marines are about to go into a hive. And you can also use it to ping a hive just to see if the aliens have dropped it or yet, because that'll reveal everything, and the players will be able to see where the aliens are before they move into the hive. So you'll notice a huge difference in fights between Marines who go into a hive blind and Marines who go into a hive that's been sensor sweeped. So it doesn't cost very many resources. Just sweep the hive before you move in for most attacks. You can also drop a forward observatory in these areas you're trying to hold, these tech points, because that'll reveal aliens in a radius around the observatory. Not a horrible idea, especially once you start getting your second command console up and your third command console up on these tech points, because of course, if you distress beacon on the observatory, it'll teleport all the Marines to the nearest command console. And so you can distress beacon at one of these forward points that you're trying to hold, and that'll bring everybody back if it's really necessary to protect it and people aren't phasing through or something, or they can't phase through. So that's helpful. What else in terms of securing these locations? Lots of mines. Always tell your people to buy mines. Don't just tell them once they get research. Just remind them all throughout the game to purchase mines. And in fact, later we'll talk about reminding Marines to do all sorts of stuff. But now let's sort of move into the more offensive tactics that the Marines have available to them. Instead of talking about locking down these tech rooms, let's talk about attacking hives that the aliens already have up. So the simplest tactic is just Marines walking in and shooting the hive. This is better in the early game when there's not as much shit to deal with. And you can also coordinate this a bit easier if you have an observatory. You distress beacon everybody back to base. You tell them to phase through to the nearest phase gate to the hive, and then everybody just walks through to the hive. So that's the pretty simple version of the Marine coordinated attack, because coordination is everything with Marines. The more people covering each other, the better you'll do against the aliens. Slightly more advanced is the jetpack coordinated attack. Everybody buys a jetpack from the Protolab, or you drop jetpacks for them, and then everybody either jets to the hive or phases and jets to the hive. You pretty much, the best way to assault these hives is going to be to go in as a coordinated group and to have as much mobility as possible, because that way you'll stay alive for as long as possible. You're going to want to tell your people to focus down the hive, or focus down the crags, and then focus down the hive, and focus down the gorge also, if there's a gorge there. But other than that, your order should pretty much be shoot the hive, because half the players are not going to listen to you. They're going to shoot any goddamn thing they see. And so the half that do listen to you are about the percentage that you want shooting the hive, because you really need to get that hive down fast. That's the point behind all of your attacks. You're not trying to wipe out the alien team completely and stamp out the race from the face of the earth. You need to kill the hive. You can mop up everything after that, but first you have to kill the hive. If you have any exos in the attack, then basically just tell the exos to walk to the hive, tell everybody to follow the exos and weld at the exos. Like, tell them guard the exos, weld the exos, follow the exos. That's everything you have to do. Protect the exos, and then the exos tell them to shoot down the hive and tell them to step on alien eggs, because a lot of them don't know that you can step on eggs to squish them. But it's the same thing. Coordinated rush, this time with the exos, and obviously be careful about distress beaconing when your exos are out there, because this will leave them undefended. They will not get beaconed back to base. And then finally the arc train. That's the last way to assault a hive. I would build at least 3 or 4 arcs. That's like minimum. A smaller number of arcs aren't going to be able to outdamage a gorge at all, or outdamage a crag at all. And by the time you're building arcs, they certainly have gorges and crags. So at least 3 or 4 arcs. Tell everybody to protect the arcs. You should also have max, because max and arcs are built from the same robotics thing. Whether you build your robotics facility closer to the front lines or back in your base, it's kind of a wash. I like to build it in the base because it doesn't take too long for the arcs and the max to get there, and it gives your people time to cluster around them and protect them as they go in a convoy. But whatever, it's up to you. And also that's a nice big building that you can use to block aliens. But yeah, you get the arcs as close as possible. They don't have a huge range, but they can shoot through walls, so try and save the arc train for hives that can be assaulted through a convenient corner or something near the hive, and then just tell your team, make sure they focus on the gorges, because the gorges will biobomb down the arcs. But yeah, so that's pretty much assaulting. Just get the Marines to go in a group and shoot the hive. It's really not like the most complicated thing in the world. It's going to come down a lot to how good the Marines are at shooting and dodging skulks and stuff, as much as it comes down to your coordination abilities. But as long as you can coordinate, you will be being the best commander you can be. And so yell at your people, do whatever it takes to get them to go in coordinated groups, to cover each other, to stay together, to weld each other. Keep them as a cohesive whole, because that's the only way your team's going to win as a team, and you're a big part of making sure your team fights as a team. What other? Oh, and there's one more assault tactic you can use. It's the ninja phase gate. You can sneak somebody into somewhere that the aliens aren't looking. You have to find a place that's not covered by infestation, and then you can drop them a phase gate. They'll build the phase gate. Your entire team runs through that thing. It's a little tough because often there's no infestation-free place, but if you have a good player on your team who knows how to work a jetpack and knows how to be quiet, they can do that. They don't even need a jetpack. They can be a ninja no matter what. As long as they don't attack any cysts on the way or something, the aliens probably won't know they're coming. Make sure you tell your team not to attack cysts needlessly. Often I'll order people to attack a certain cyst to cut off a cyst chain, because that's annoying for the alien commander. But if you see people just wailing on cysts wherever they're going, tell them, cut that out. You're just letting the aliens know that we're coming, and you're not doing any damage. You can, when you finally get to where you're going, you can just kill the cyst there. That'll cut the chain all the way back. So don't let people go just wanton, willy-nilly killing cysts. That's not nice. Just tell them generally to be quiet, be cognizant of what's going on, so they don't give away anything before it happens. And now general tactics that aren't really related to attacking or defending specifically. So med pack drops are important to get used to. It's a pretty simple concept. Just drop a med pack on somebody when they're getting hurt. If they'll pick up the med pack as long as they're slightly hurt. So if they have like 96 health, they'll walk over the med pack and it'll bring them up to 100. So that's not very helpful. So you want to try and drop the med packs on them when they're getting a little low, maybe after they've taken a skulk bite or two, rather than when they've taken a couple lurk spikes. So you'll just get a good feel for this. You'll have to have good micro or whatever to drop these straight on the Marines, but whatever, you'll get used to it, or you won't, and you'll be a bad commander. The other thing is med pack spam, which is like med pack drops, except you just drop like 60 of them. You should still be aiming for the Marine, obviously, in your first couple of drops to get them back up to full health, but after that, if you spam a bunch of med packs around, this will give them room to just sort of run around and pick up med packs on their own. I use medpack spams when I have a group of people that I want to keep alive, but I can't keep my eyes on them 100% of the time, like they're attacking a hive or something, and I'm like, just fine, have a bunch of medpacks and some ammo, and hopefully you won't die. I gotta go somewhere else and do something. When someone's in a heated fight with a skulk or something, I prefer pointed medpack drops rather than just spamming medpacks around. I find that like 9 times out of 10, if I just literally spam medpacks on a Marine, it kind of comes down to luck whether or not they're going to run over any of them. They're mostly focused on fighting the skulk, so they can't really aim towards the medpacks. Whereas if I'm aiming with the medpacks, I can usually hit the Marine with pretty good accuracy, so that keeps them alive much better. So I would focus on getting your med drop accuracy up rather than spamming medpacks, and also you're going to save team resources, but don't be stingy with medpack drops or with ammo drops. Anytime a Marine asks for ammo, basically just drop it. Anytime they ask for meds, basically just drop it unless they're next to an armory or something in both cases, because you've got the resources and it's important to keep your people alive. Don't do it all the time. Use your judgment or something, but I think almost every time it's worth it to drop this stuff on a Marine that needs it, whether or not they ask for it. When you drop a structure, it's a ghost structure, so it's just blue, and if an alien touches it, it goes poof until a Marine starts building it, in which case it turns solid, and then an alien has to bite it down. If an alien touches a ghost structure before a Marine builds it, you get 100% of your resources back, but that's the only way to cancel the ghost structure. So here's the thing: as long as no Marine touches a ghost structure, you're fine. Unless you need those resources right now, either you can build it later, you can have your Marines build it later, or the alien will just touch it and you'll get your resources back. So this is good for two things. First, you can drop a ghost command console in the beginning of the game, or early in the game, or even whenever you want. Whenever you want on a tech point. If the game lets you drop it, then there's no hive or infestation there. If it doesn't let you drop it and it says out of range, it means there's a hive there. If it doesn't let you drop it and there's infestation, it'll tell you there's infestation. So this is a way to scout for a hive, and it's basically costless because an alien's going to touch that thing. It's a giant glowing blue box. They're just going to walk in. They'll be like, "Here, I'm an alien. I'm hurting the Marines," because they're not smart enough to realize they give you all the resources back. So against really good players, this won't work, so maybe as time goes on, people will realize not to touch those ghost structures as aliens. But right now, you can just drop a command console wherever you want, and, an alien's going to give you your resources back eventually, so don't worry about that. That's good for scouting. And in general, ghost structures, you're going to want to tell your Marines whenever you drop an extractor, it's almost always, or a phase gate or anything, it's almost always better to build the power node first, and then build the building. Because if an alien shows up while you're doing this, and attacks your Marines and bites them all, if they've just built the power node, no big deal. The alien will touch the ghost structure and it'll give you your res back, or your Marines will get there eventually and build the ghost structure when the alien's dead. However, if they start off by building the extractor or something, then an alien shows up, the extractor's half built or even 100% built, but you haven't finished the power yet, then you've sunk all your resources into that building, but you haven't gotten anything out of it because it's not functioning yet without the power. So try and get your players to build the power first, or at least simultaneously with any ghost structures you drop in a location right off the bat. Make sure people drop mines everywhere. I know I've been saying this a lot, but it's good to tell people to do it a lot. And generally just tell people what to do. Use their names and direct them, and divide them into groups, send them to hotspots, tell somebody by name to go save an extractor, to go weld the extractor. The more you're directing your team, the more likely they are to listen to you when you need to get them to do anything. Well, you just establish a sort of atmosphere of obedience, and that is probably the best tactic that you will have for getting your strategies to work. And have I gone over everything? I think so. So that's pretty much all the tactics that you use as a Marine commander to try and get your strategies working for you. And then finally, tips and tricks, which, as in my previous Alien Commander tutorial video, is pretty much just going to be what to do versus newbies. So you'll notice at no point in this tutorial have I mentioned turrets. I have sentry turrets. I didn't mention sentry batteries or sentry turrets. Those weren't in the build order. Those weren't in locking down any rooms, and that's because they suck. Don't build them. But versus newbies, they're not so bad. You can lock down a tech point with a sentry battery and some turrets, and the newbies will be like, "Oh my god, I'm being shot by an automated turret. I'm gonna die." So fine, whatever, build those, but don't actually never build those. And also mines are really good versus newbies because they'll just walk into them all the time and blow up. So mines are pretty awesome, and versus newbies, they're super awesome. So that is how I basically see Marine strategy going. Lock down tech points, spread out over the map, and to really get focused, hammered attacks on those alien hives whenever you find them and whenever you can. You need to stop the aliens from gaining momentum, and don't buy exosuits unless you get into late game, because whatever, I don't think they're as good as jetpacks. You really need to get around the map, and since you can't phase or a jetpack in an exosuit, it's just slow and you're going to have trouble hitting the hive, but whatever. Oh, and at the very late game, this is another tips and tricks sort of thing. You're just going to be swimming in resources if the game goes on for a while, so this is when you really start pumping out max. You can have 5 at a time. You can use them to weld up power nodes and extractors, so you can tell your Marines, look, kill the skulk biting the extractor, but don't worry about welding it back up. I'll use my max for that. And you can also use them to support arc trains and exo trains, but most importantly, you can use your max to build. You can just send them off into some part of the map, drop a phase gate in a command console and all sorts of stuff, and your max will just build it for you. So that's nice. You can free yourself from being dependent on the Marines and free up the Marines for fighting. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you disagree or agree or whatever, you can post comments down in the video. And as always, I'm vaguely tall. I'm not like super tall, but I'm slightly above average for, I think, American men is where I'm at. So yeah.